Welcome to BAM It with John, Michael, and Mari, covering all things business, accounting, marketing, management, and IT. The place where businesses and entrepreneurs find the forest through the trees.
Hello and welcome to BAM It. I am John Michael Cletus with Peridot Consulting, and
Mari Peterson with Marketing Outpost.
I wanted to see what I was going to call you today. You cut me off. You took my chance away, Mari. I was going to call you a friend, I think, this time. Anyways, in today's episode, it's actually going to be a two-part episode. This is part one of the gig economy. And we're going to be within this gig economy. We're going to be...
Why don't you talk? What is a gig economy?
Well, let's read the Oxford...
I've been gigging before, and I don't think this has anything to do with that.
I'm going to read you the Oxford English Dictionary definition of a gig economy. It's a labor market characterized by the prevalence of short-term contracts or freelance work opposed to permanent jobs.
So basically, traditional versus non-traditional.
Yeah, it's working a bunch of just smaller jobs. So let's get into interesting facts. Do you want me to go with my interesting facts? So gig, people might ask where the term gig came from for gig economy. It started in the 1920s, the jazz musicians. It's short for engagement. So everybody thinks of gig as like a musical gig. They have a gig coming up. Well, it started in the 20s, and it was just the jazz musicians are good at slang, and this is just a slang term they started. Instead of saying they had an engagement coming up, it shortened to gig.
Well, that's cool.
Is it, Mari?
It's short little engagements. I get it.
Yeah, good. So the gig economy, the reason we're having a two-part series on this is we're going to be interviewing two people that are kind of at the different spectrums of the gig economy. We've got Bill, who is 28, who sort of started a career, but is moving into just this paradigm of the gig economy. And we're also going to have an interview with Dave, who is in his upper 60s. And he is I don't want to say a retired attorney, but he's
he's a career professional.
He's a career professional. He did the career thing, but now he is doing the gig economy. So we're going to have two perspectives of living within this gig economy, which are great, very introspective perspectives, and very exciting to hear from them. But let's talk about, we've defined the gig economy. We did the interesting fact. What is the gig economy, Mari, and why is it? It's a newish thing. It's a newish paradigm, isn't it?
I think it's I think it's new and old. I think a lot of people have before in the past put together a lot of part-time jobs to make it work, but they used to be very physically driven jobs. So for example, 20 something years ago, when I first moved to Asheville, I had 3 different jobs. So I did that because the pay scale for one full-time job just wasn't enough. So I basically worked 2.5 jobs, Yeah. But now what has happened is technology. So the gig economy definition today is largely driven by the influence of technology, because now it's not that you have 3 physical jobs, so you're running from location to location. You can actually have one of those jobs being something you do online. How you get prospects, leads, or sales can be online, or using technology to allow you to work from home in some way. So I think that we have, with so many at-home professionals, that has led to more people working at home, but then they might fill that in with something else.
Yeah, I mean, you hear it more and more these days, the gig economy, and many modern economists will say we are now living in the gig economy. And it's driven, like Mari said, from technology. It makes the convenience of it or the accessibility of it better. But also there's a sense of some people sort of have to do the gig economy because a entry-level job maybe isn't going to be sustainable. A lot of people are flocking to cities. Cities are more expensive to live in. You can't necessarily go and get an entry-level marketing job or an accounting job and make ends meet and live there. So you start picking up odd jobs here and there, and before you know it, you're in the gig economy. Some people do it out of lifestyle choice. They want the control, the ability. Like you said, technology just gives them the option. If you can do it, why not? If you can take on these odd jobs.
I think our work culture has become more open-minded about it as well. Our work culture used to be they wanted everybody working on site where they could physically see you. You had to clock in and clock out, and you weren't considered at work till you were physically at work. I think more occupations and businesses, even in our fields, such as accounting, such as legal, professional services, they now allow more people to work from home remotely. And so I think just the work culture itself has become more open-minded. I know a lot of people that have a full-time professional career, but then yes, they do have something, a hobby or a passion that they can pursue on the side, and they happen to make money from it, whether it's a band, whether it's being an artist of some type. So, or just some other side thing that they like to do. I know some people that make cakes on the side. They make wedding cakes,
it's becoming more and more prevalent that it is not weird if somebody is doing 5 things. It's just kind of like, oh, and I started doing this, and now I'm this, and now I do that. And it's kind of an accepted thing. And for people to have more than 1 or 2 or 3 things going on, I've got some examples of people that are successful attorneys, but also have 3 or 4 just different things going on. Like you said, they're in a band to a catering business. I mean, it's
Well, there's a very popular person here in town. I really like her a lot, and I admire her a lot. She makes soap. Essential Journeys soap, and she started off and still does, makes it, produces it, distributes it out of her home, and she's in West Asheville. But then she loves cycling, so that is her huge passion, and she is in with some international company that creates guided cycling trips. And so about every other month she is traveling somewhere in the world internationally, guiding cycling trips for women. And she is able to manage her soap business even while she's traveling because of the use of technology and being able to email and see all the orders and see everything going on no matter where she's at. So I think the gig economy is something that is aided so much by technology as well as by a more open-mindedness that we have in our culture. And then I think it's also driven by this idea that we don't want to be a work ethic, a work economy as we have been, where we're working 80 hours a week with no break, and then you really don't get to relax and enjoy life until you actually retire. I think more people realize now they'd actually like to enjoy their life and their pursuits while they're working. And so I think people are demanding that now and turning things around to shape that kind of lifestyle.
Yeah. And when you and I got together to kind of plan season 2, we both agreed that we need to get the gig economy in here because of this thing. And the way, like we said, we're going to do it. And I think the best way to get it across is to interview these 2 people that are living in this gig economy. So we're going to start out with our interview with Bill. And after the break, we'll jump into that interview.
This podcast is brought to you by Peridot Consulting and Marketing Outpost. Peridot Consulting offers a new paradigm in accounting services. We work with individuals and businesses toward prosperity and financial happiness. Please visit www.peridotconsultinginc.com for more information. Marketing Outpost provides strategies to solve problems and strategies to grow your business. Please visit www.marketingoutpost.com for more information.
Okay, and right now we're sitting here with Bill, and Bill is 28 years old, and I'll let him answer this, but for most of your career, have you been kind of practicing the gig economy? Is that correct?
I'd say I'm heading in that direction for sure a lot more. I'd say it's about 50-50 now, but my trajectory is to be more of a long game gig economy guy.
So that's your plan and your goal, to be working in the gig economy. And we're interviewing Bill for his this is the quintessential gig economy example, because he is somebody that is sort of developing his professional career within that.
But now probably when you started off in this way, you didn't think, I'm going to be working in the gig economy.
Definitely not.
It just sort of happened.
It kind of came after doing the 9 to 5 for so many years and just realizing this wasn't what I wanted.
Well, fill us in a little bit on that, how this evolved.
Sure. So I was working in New York City for about 4 years in property management, and I was overseeing a portfolio of about 10 high rises in Manhattan. And it was, it was an office job, 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 9, working the stereotypical going down the career path for property management and real estate. And eventually it just got to a point where it just didn't feel worth it anymore. Something happened in the job, in the career, that this just wasn't fulfilling enough. I just feel like it was the time versus money balance wasn't there. But time versus, that's what I meant to say. I wanted to experience, life a little bit more that wasn't inside this office. And that's what kind of led me to get out of New York City and into Asheville, where I can more affordably support myself on a gig economy.
Right.
At least me personally. Some people,
Yeah.
You chose it because you wanted more independence.
That's exactly it. I mean, we're all here once. And, sometimes if you're not enjoying what you're doing, let's spend as much time as you can enjoying what you're doing. This is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, did you choose to go into property management? Like that was the thing you thought you were going to do?
Yeah, it did. Leading up to it in high school and college, I was working in real estate. I've got a broker's license, and then eventually it segued into managing an apartment building, and then eventually managing condos and condominiums in Manhattan, and working with the boards that are a part of them. And it was very much, that was the path, this career 9 to 5 path, where you have an office and you make a bunch of money. But just wasn't for me.
So I'm sure when you were doing that, you were not saying or thinking to yourself, oh, in 3 to 5 years, I'll be living in Asheville and doing different things.
Definitely not. We were looking to buy in New York City. We were like, okay, let's get a condo and we're just going to chug out the rest of our lives here, living in the city, working, in this real estate firm.
Good for you in many ways of realizing that at almost the right time, that your trajectory of happiness just wasn't going to be on par.
And that's what it comes down to, the trajectory of happiness. Yeah, how much longer should I stay in this before I can't get out anymore and I'm in trouble?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you'd stayed 10 more years?
Yep.
And some people, they're blind to that trajectory of happiness, that term I just coined. And that they get stuck in this career. They're like, oh, I'm in a good career. I'm doing the right thing. I'm making money. The ladder's in front of me, and they get stuck in that paradigm. But they don't realize that they're less and less happy as the more and more they do it.
Yeah. I mean, the weekends were just this valuable time in my life. And then there was that thing, the Monday dread. Mm-hmm. And ever since I left that kind of style of work, maybe it was just the industry and place in general, but doesn't exist. Every day is just a nice day in the gig economy, at least in my world.
And from your perception.
And for the reason I asked that background question is because I'm sure you meet a lot of stereotypical reactions when you tell people kind of how you live your life now. You want to describe a little bit of that maybe?
Sure. I get a lot of questions because, people don't understand. Primarily, my gig economy income comes from this program that I've installed called Madison County Outdoors. I live in Madison County. I'm really passionate about community involvement. It's something that I can wake up and just be happy doing for free or for fun or because I want to better my community. I'm just kind of I'm also very involved with Rotary and just kind of a volunteering kind of dude. But Madison County Outdoors is this program that I presented to the Tourism Development Authority. And what it is basically just an entity that we can help broadcast the many natural outdoor amenities in Madison County. So in terms of a gig economy, what I do is I'll request funds. I'll apply for grants throughout federally or state or just through the Tourism Development Authority. And I seek out these grants to put on projects to help out Madison County and help make hiking brochures and help get, more content online and help drive tourism and local businesses. So it's not a steady paycheck. It's, hey, here's a project. Can you fund me for it?
So a lot of just project-based stuff through the county where you're attracting the stuff. And if you get the funding, then boom, you're off and running on a certain project.
That's it.
And that's very cool. And we can go down that further. But you also do some just random other things too, right?
Yeah, there's some other stuff too. With my real estate background, I'm also a licensed home inspector. I work as an insurance inspector, working with mortgages and stuff like that. So for Western North Carolina, I'm like the inspector for when people buy a house, they need an inspector to come by, not for the buying and selling process, but for ensuring that the insurance is okay with the material the house is made of.
Yeah.
So I'm that guy who comes in and just kind of makes sure there's no real defects and then relays that information to whoever your insurance provider is.
Wow.
And that's kind of just like, that kind of keeps me afloating.
Yeah.
That money, that income.
Yeah.
Do you do anything else?
Not so much. I mean, I'd like to get back into the music scene and just, that would be another source of income for my gig economy. I'd love to get back into jazz and like, hey, hire me and my little trio and we'll play for you for $100 for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So you're musically talented.
Well, it's been a while, but we're trying to get back into it. Alyssa also is. Yeah.
Well, that's extremely cool. And as we mentioned in our intro, gig came from the old jazz musicians.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from short for engagement back in the 20s. That's my interesting fact on the hard intro earlier.
Got it. I remember that now. Do you ever find, because when you come in, people make assumptions or stereotypes that maybe they're not thinking you're educated and that you have all these other background skills or anything like that?
I think that is a part of the gig economy. It's kind of hard to say. And from my personal experience, I haven't really felt that anyone is judging me because I'm not working 9 to 5 so much. I get a lot more people like just jealous of the freedom, frankly. Yeah.
Well, you took control. You didn't sit there and say, oh, I have to do this for the rest of my life or for 10, 15 more years. You decided to take control of it yourself.
Sure. And the trade-off is, okay, I do have a lot of freedom and I don't have a boss anymore, but I certainly don't make as much money as if I were to go this career trajectory, at least not right currently now. Of what it looks like. Yeah.
Right. So your approach to it is envious, as I said before. And I would say there may be a negative connotation to some people in the gig economy if maybe they're a barista and they, sell stockings on the side and they also do Mary Kay. That might be the negative stereotype of the gig economy. But I think the reality of it is what Bill is showing us is that the reality is that it's actually a highly educated, and I'm sure he gets zero negative connotations because of the stuff he's doing is actually high quality of gigs, for lack of a better term. And that is just showing that the gig economy, from stereotype to reality, that you can't just wake up and say, I'm going to do 30 or 40 odd jobs and make a living wage, which you perfectly may. But if you actually have a skill set, you can still implant that into a gig economy.
So what would you say is your biggest challenge in the way that you work?
I'm finding that he probably is like, I have zero challenges.
Well, sometimes it does feel like that because once, I find a funding source of some kind of government agency that I won their trust over with, I've been able to, hey guys, I've made this great product for you guys, provided this great service, and I can keep that reputation rolling. And so far, that's been keeping me going.
I would say maybe a challenge would be that, you have to get in that job specifically, you have to get those grants to get money, right? So
that's definitely, that's you could definitely say that.
But it doesn't seem like you've had that much difficulty with it, so that's good.
Because you've supplanted it with the other gigs that you're doing. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
So definitely. Name off all the pros so that we can all get jealous.
Right. I spent my whole summer hiking all summer and documenting all the trails in Madison County. So that's been amazing.
As part of your job? As
part of my job, getting paid to document these trails. And then we're developing a series of really fantastic, they look so good, brochures that we're going to be distributing. But that's what we did. And then before that, I was documenting where the best places were to fish in Madison County. And that was another fun experience. And down the line here, we're just thinking of other ways to, what else can we promote?
So combining your passion with your work.
Exactly.
And to back it up a bit, this is kind of a job that you created for yourself because you went to them and said, hey guys, there needs to be some documentation of these trails and there needs to be this stuff. And you sort of took the gumption and did it and created this job for yourself.
Exactly. There is and was a bit of a lack of online broadcasting for Madison County. And I just bought a house up there and it's like, gosh, I really care about this. Is a beautiful county and we need to change this. We need to let people know that, Madison County is pretty top notch up here. And ever since then, I've just been seeking out these grants to keep kind of promoting us and showing off, all these things. And it's amazing how many locals up there too don't even realize what's in their backyard, what this amazing
There's
peak.
a lot of land back there.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Madison County is a lot of good land, and it's such a gorgeous part of Western North Carolina.
And, yeah, we're really excited up there. We just got a brewery to Mars Hill and a couple other breweries coming in. So we're expecting a lot more people to come up our way and enjoy it with us.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of growth up there from what I understand.
Definitely.
So if somebody else came to you and said, hey, I would like to have that what would you warn them or advise them about? What kind of advice?
Just know what you're getting into, and you want to be careful about stepping on people's toes, because Madison County, there's people have lived there forever. They've had their jobs forever. They've been working on these boards forever. And the best thing you can do is really getting to know the committees that you might be affecting, getting familiar with the people that will also probably care about what your project might be, and inviting them in. So for this whole hiking project, for example, I invited all the trail clubs who have been maintaining these trails for years. And we talk every month, actually every week, I email them and we talk about the trail that we're working on, just so that, there's as much transparency as possible, and that they can see that, hey, we are looking to really do good here. This isn't some kind of weird cash grab. We're looking out for these trails. We're looking out for the locals. We want to encourage as much positivity and growth as possible. So I just recommend be careful of the toes you might step on if you're applying for grants, because there are tons of committees out there that you might be bumping heads with.
Well, that was very, I think, smart of you, because especially where you're at, they don't like outsiders so much, or I wouldn't say maybe they don't like them, but they're suspicious of them. So I'm sure, and you dealt with that. I think that's great, inviting everybody to be a part of it.
Definitely. It's as kind of a newcomer to Madison County, it's, you just got to prove yourself, put yourself out there, and, prove that you can make a good product that's valuable to the county. And
so I'm sure as you accomplish things, they're starting to see like, oh, this is great. Oh, this is bringing the right people here and so forth. So you're not in there trying to promote hotels and stuff like that.
No, we're just tourism and local businesses.
So you said that this is your goal to kind of like live within this gig economy. Where do you see what you're doing and how you're living in this gig economy going in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
In this position, as the administrator of Madison County Outdoors, I would hope and aspire for it to continue to evolve to a point where we can get funding to put on, more programs. There's always, each little project is just another stepping stone towards the greater idea of establishing Madison County as a top tier outdoor county. And I can foresee, in the future, and all of a sudden getting funding from Madison County Outdoors to put on, here now it's a hiking group that meets at all these different hiking clubs, or Madison County Outdoors is doing a fishing at this pond over here. So join them and come enjoy all the stuff that Madison County has to offer.
How would you say your background and what you did before, does that help you at all in your current work?
It's odd because not really. I've worked
like so totally unrelated.
Yeah, it's different. But the last time I actually worked with the community development stuff was way back in high school, when I did work with the Youth Advisory Council, and we would put on a number of just community volunteer events in our cities and stuff like that. But the real estate doesn't really come into this game much at all, aside from I'm working with condominiums and condos. I work with very, very rich people in their boards in the evenings, and maybe that experience is kind of carried over to the boards here. And
I would say the work ethic.
Sure.
You carry. There's a talent. It doesn't have to be a tangible talent, but you definitely carried over your work ethic and everything. So one thing I'm learning from this specifically is within this gig economy, and specifically what you do is just the self-start, go-getter sort of person you are, and you're making this paradigm of this gig economy successful because of that. And I can see where some people, if you're living in the gig economy, you just can't sit back and wait for it to come to you. You have to go out and find it.
Definitely.
And I'm seeing that with you specifically. You basically created a job for you doing your passion, which is extremely cool. You do another, with your burgers and the insurance, you do that as sort of a supplement, a steady base. And I'm sure as time goes on, like you said, you're going to look for other gigs with jazz, or if something else comes along, why not?
Definitely.
If you like it, let's do it.
What's the name of your jazz trio? Do you have?
I haven't thought of that far ahead yet.
Hadn't gone that far. I didn't know if
He's
you were
not
like
ready to-
really. You just got done hiking. You're like, okay, I'm not going to think about that yet.
Yeah, no ideas yet.
Okay.
So doing what you're doing, I can only assume that technology plays a key role in assisting, not specifically with, Madison County, but just assisting in your life within the gig economy. Is that true?
That's definitely true, because a big part of what I've done with this funding too is kind of establish myself as the Madison County Instagram account. And that's been a great marketing tool,
Wow.
social media presence, having this. And I can't tell you, every single day I have people interacting, not realizing these amenities, and me being some kind of force that can kind of articulate to them directly and kind of anonymously. Yeah, technology has been fantastic. Internet-wise, social media-wise, Instagram, Facebook. It's just, they're all just kind of tools that you can use in the gig economy world if you're a little creative, I guess.
Yeah. I'm sure this is not where your passion wants to take you, but I see potential politics in the near future with all your gumption. But
That would be the antithesis to me of freedom.
No, I know, but I mean, it's I could see him as the commissioner of Madison County in maybe 10 years.
I don't know about that. It's been, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, all right. Well,
Don't plant terrible ideas. He's happy.
I'm poisoning his soul.
And he's in a happy relationship. You want to ruin all that, John Michael, with politics?
Well, I think I've already said it. I think that Bill is demonstrating the gumption and go-getting that you need to have in the gig economy. And it's admirable, frankly admirable, the things that you've done and been able to develop for yourself within that. And just when we asked you the challenges, there was a pause because you're just happy and the challenges are not coming to your face. And it's very cool to see.
So you don't count vacation days and sick days, and you're not sitting here worried about what you might be putting into a 401k.
No, everything's pretty mellow, and every day almost feels like a weekend day,
How did you choose Madison?
Madison County?
Yeah, to live, when you were doing your research, I'm sure you did a little bit of that.
Yeah, coming from the real estate background, I'm doing heavy research on my communities, what I'm going to be moving into, land, and the prospect of things growing and developing further to, guard my investment. And Madison County is, we live in Mars Hill, and it's right off I-26. So it's 20 minutes to get to Asheville. And we were like, that's perfectly close enough. And at the same time, far enough away. And also it was just affordable. We just found the right house that just seemed to have the land, and the community there was so nice too. Actually, we went to the Welcome Center in Mars Hill, and we just found them so overwhelmingly friendly that we just this might be the place. We were just so surprised by it. The community there is fantastic. And I was just at Rotary this morning. And again, it's just,
They are very welcoming.
I can't say enough how nice the community up there is, how much they care and how much they want to help their county and grow. Everyone cares about the county up there, and everyone wants to do something, play their part.
Yeah.
So when you first came, you made a preliminary trip. Were there other places that you came to in the area?
We were scoping out everywhere around the Asheville area. We were pretty open-minded. It was really just, we had to be close enough, but not too close to Asheville. And I think we scoped out Black Mountain a bit. And Black Mountain is a really cool little town. I do like Black Mountain a lot. But they just a little bit more expensive for us. But other than that, just anywhere in Asheville we found is pretty great. And we also wanted to avoid the southern traffic that between here and
that was
Hendersonville.
A wise move.
Yeah, we're like, I don't know, Madison County. I don't think there's too much traffic.
North is, it's that new highway, and north is much lighter on the traffic.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Well, cool.
I don't have any other questions. He makes it sound like I just want to stop and leave.
I know. I need to rethink my approach to.
I think what we all do share in common here is we all have a passion for what we do. And I think that is probably the most important thing. And actually, John Michael, we've defined our own way of working as well. We don't work in a traditional type of work environment either. And so I think we're all three here non-traditionalists and sort of defining our careers for ourselves and how we work to fit our lifestyle. I think that's pretty much what the gig economy is as well.
Yeah. And I'm happier as a result, I would say. So. Well, Bill, we can't thank you enough for your time. I know you're busy with everything you got going on, so we thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
So we want to say thank you for joining us today. Please be sure to review this episode. And for more information on who we are or this podcast, please visit www.bamit-it.com and join us for our next episode where we will have Dave on here to talk about part 2 of his experience in the gig economy.
The hosts and the guests of this podcast make no warranty, guarantee, or representation as to the accuracy or sufficiency of the information featured in this podcast. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. This podcast should not be considered professional advice and is for entertainment purposes. It is not guaranteed that you will find this as entertaining as the hosts find themselves.